Welcome to week 5, where we will be focusing on letting things be as they are. For today's part 1 session, we will be discussing resistance and how it affects our suffering. We will also discuss feeling tones and their relationship with our emotions. Then you'll be introduced to an exploring unpleasant, neutral, and pleasant meditation. The practice of mindfulness invites us to see things as they are, not as we imagine them to be or wish them to be. This seeing things as they are asks us to look deeply into all areas of our lives. This usually is a big challenge, especially in painful areas, or the ones we try to avoid at all costs. You can see how the practice of loving kindness, the attitude of friendliness and benevolence can support this. All of our experiences can be categorized into one of 3 feeling states: unpleasant, pleasant, or neither pleasant or unpleasant, which we call neutral. Habitually, we try to avoid the unpleasant, try to hold on to the pleasant, and ignore what we see as neutral. Why would you want to be with something unpleasant or painful, you might ask? That is a great question, and it's normal to want to get rid of it. Many of you have come to this course because there is some or a lot of unpleasant, stressful, and painful things in your life that just won't go away. Or if one unpleasant situation does happen to change, then it's replaced by another distressing thing that you want to fight, resist, or get rid of. We normally fall so automatically into resistance against what doesn't feel good that we don't see that the experience and the resistance against it are not the same thing. What we learn to see is that it is exactly the resistance against whatever is unpleasant that makes it so hard to be with. Mindfulness teacher Shinzen Young came up with a very pithy equation for this. Suffering equals pain times resistance. It is just common sense that the more we resist something, the worse it feels. Or as the saying goes, what we resist persists. Being with the things as they are takes practice and patience. Pain is inevitable in life. It's a constant. If we are not in physical or emotional pain right now, then very likely somebody we are close to is. So if the resistance or worry goes up, so does the amount of suffering. If it goes down, we experience that pain in a different way. What happens when there's zero resistance to pain? What happens to suffering? Then suffering is equal to 0. The good news is that resistance is not a constant. If it were, we would be doomed. But resistance is something we can work with and learn to let go of, or to at least soften. And a loving kindness practice comes in really handy here. You may ask, how do we do that? By first being able to recognize resistance. What does it feel like in your body? Where? What are the thoughts that are common with resistance? Can you see how resistant favors an experience in a very recognizable way, but that it is separate from what is happening? Let's go through an example of what this looks like. Jose went to a camping store with his family. When he had gotten the things he was looking for, he decided to sit down in a comfy folding chair in a display area to wait for his family to get done. He felt relaxed and had fun watching the other shoppers. Then suddenly, resistance kicked in. His mind was wondering, why is everyone taking so long? He felt tension in his shoulders and jaw. Externally, nothing changed, just his interpretation of the situation. And then suddenly, it was there. He felt upset. Now it's time to start training your tolerance muscles in small ways to be willing to be with something mildly unpleasant, like your itchy nose in meditation. You will notice how your mind will kick up a storm again, why this is so ridiculous not to scratch. but you can just watch your mind railing and let the nose itch. Then you'll discover what might be revolutionary to you. The itch will eventually go away by itself. Why is this revolutionary? You could say that we live in a scratch itch society. We have many means to fulfill our whims. As a result, we might have lost the knowledge that we are able to just tolerate a craving, and it will go away by itself. What a freedom. Neuroscientist Jill Bolte Taylor, known for her book, My Stroke of Insight, says that the electric brain circuitry for a thought, an emotion, or an urge lasts only 90 seconds if it's not reinforced, but just watched. You can be with mostly anything for 90 seconds, don't you think? If you have ever felt like acting like a puppet on a string to an urge, why not put this to the test? Working with resistance repeatedly over time will result in a number of things. 1, you become more familiar with resistance and tolerate it much better. 2, you will notice that more often the resistance will lessen significantly or dissipate by just noticing it. And 3, resistance, as an automatic reflex to everything we don't like, will diminish in many situations. Or, as Joey, as one of our students has put it, I stopped sweating the small stuff so much. The 3 feeling states, unpleasant, neutral, or pleasant, are also called feeling tones and make up the second foundation of mindfulness. Mindfulness tones should not be confused with feeling emotions. While feeling tones co-arise with each experience, they are separate from the experience itself, which is a very useful concept. 3 phenomena come together to start an experience: the sense, what is seen, and consciousness. Experiencing feeling tones is therefore something that is particular to your unique mind-body system. If you like apples, then a pleasant feeling will arise. If not, then a neutral or maybe even an unpleasant one will appear. The feeling tones co-arise with the experience. If the feeling is pleasant, then craving or wanting will arise. I want the apple. If it's unpleasant, you most likely will experience aversion or resistance. So far, the process is automatic and we can't do anything about it. But at this point, we have a choice. We can simply experience the craving or aversion and observe how it changes over time, or we can try to act on it. With practice, we learn to see that we can step out of the system of this constant stream of the arising of wanting or aversion. We can learn to just let experience do its thing and enjoy the freedom of deciding what we want to act on instead of feeling dragged around by endless impulses. The term feeling tones isn't easily translated into everyday usage, since we commonly use the word feeling to mean emotion. Feeling tones are simply the felt sense of registering an experience as pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. They aren't judgments and they aren't thoughts. Although we analyze them and start thinking about them, we, of course, using our thoughts. Learning to be with things as they are, to not resist that which is unpleasant, is a crucial skill. I will now introduce you to the Explore Unpleasant, Neutral, Pleasant meditation. We will be doing a short guided exploration now where we will focus on different aspects of our experience. We will move from something unpleasant to something neutral to something pleasant. Please make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself with focusing completely on a big pain. Assuming a comfortable position and allowing the eyes to gently close if that's okay to you. I now want to invite you to check your experience for an unpleasant sensation in the body. This shouldn't be something big, more something like a discomfort or tension, maybe in the shoulders, maybe a dull pain that is more in the background. Maybe check your shoulders, your back, any other area that might call your attention. Perhaps there are no unpleasant sensations in your experience in this moment. That's okay. Just noticing if there are any sensations in the body related to tiredness or achiness. If you can't feel something unpleasant, find an area that feels neutral. See if you can feel the sensation and silently note to yourself, unpleasant, unpleasant. You might want to ask yourself, what piece of my experience is it that makes this unpleasant? Is it a sense of tightness, burning, pressure? Breathing now into this sensation, what happens to it? What is your attitude? Is it kind or maybe tight and harsh? Neutral? Is it hard or easy to stay with it? Can you feel resistance? Is it the same or something different than the actual sensation? Now letting go of the unpleasant sensation and moving to something that feels neither unpleasant nor pleasant. Scan your body for a neutral feeling. Now resting your attention there, like we practiced during the body scan meditation. Again, you might want to ask yourself, what piece of my experience is it that makes this neutral? What does neutral feel like to you? What happens to your attention? Is it hard or easy to stay with? What happens as you imagine to breathe into this area? Now letting go of the neutral feeling and sweeping the body for a pleasant sensation. This doesn't have to be something big, maybe a sense of ease or relaxation in an area. How about your earlobes, your eyes, your hands? How about your breath? Maybe just the fact that you're finally being honest with yourself. The truth of this moment can feel pleasant, even if the body doesn't feel that way. Now, coming to an end of our short exploration, ending with a couple of breaths in silence. That concludes this week's Part 1 session. Your next handout is to work on Change Your History channel. I also want you to work on noticing resistance in your daily life and journal about it. And while continuing your choice of a guided meditation, take care.